Judaism is not a religion. Now, I know we were all raised in a day and age and conditioned to consider Judaism as one of the world's great religions, which is a bit strange since Jews make up less than 0.01% of the world's population. But Judaism is actually not a religion at all. Hear me out. The word religion in almost every dictionary is defined as the belief system in a god, deity, book, or prophet, or commonly understood as the belief system that spreads across borders and across nations. Let's look at actual religions like Christianity, Islam, Buddhism. If an individual does not believe in Jesus or in the Christian Bible, then that person is not a Christian. If an individual does not believe in Muhammad or in the Quran, then they are not a Muslim. And if an individual does not believe in Buddha or in his teachings, then they are not Buddhist. The point is that if any individual rejects any religion's deity or considers themselves agnostic or atheist, then they, by the very definition of religion, are not a part of it. Yet in Judaism, even if a Jew rejects the notion of God and the Torah, they may be atheists or agnostic, but they are still Jewish. If we take a Christian, for example, from France, from China, from Argentina, from Côte d'Ivoire in Africa, then they all have the same belief system, but they are all definitely not the same people with the same culture or historical origin. Yet, when it comes to Jews, they may have been physically displaced around the world, but their identity, culture, history, and even genetics are all linked to one place and to one people. Again, by the very definition of religion, one must believe in that religion's deity in order to be a part of it. Yet that rule does not apply for Jews and the relationship with Judaism. There is no doubt that many Jews are religious and that the Jewish people's connection to a higher power and the Torah is an essential element of their identity. But it is important to realize the actual definitions of the words being used, since that is what the world understands when they hear Jews speak. The word religious describes an individual's relationship with something, whereas the word religion very specifically describes a belief system and not a people. So if Judaism is not a religion, then what is it? Judaism is the portable suitcase of a native people's identity that was created upon their forceful displacement from their indigenous land called Judea. A suitcase that was built to preserve Judean culture, values, laws, ethics, history, tradition, language, aspirations, a connection to a higher power, their way of life, and the will to one day return and to liberate their homeland. Although today the descendants of Judea are usually referred to as Jews, this same ancient people have also been called Hebrews or Israelites. Well, let's go more into detail. The almost 4,000-year-old nation of Israel is made up of 12 tribes. I am a descendant of the tribe of Levi from both sides of my family. Back in the day, the tribe of Judah decided to break off from the rest of Israel. This split forced the creation of two kingdoms, the kingdom of Israel and the kingdom of Judea. Eventually, the kingdom of Judea renamed the land of Israel to the land of Judea, including all of the Israelites, even if they were from different tribes. This is why Israelites, or the Hebrews, are today referred to as Jews, because the name of the land that they last lived in was called Judea. Around 2,000 years ago, the Roman Empire was spreading across Europe and Asia, and the Judeans living in Judea refused to submit to their foreign rule. Due to the rebellious nature of the Judeans, the Roman Empire destroyed their country and expelled the vast majority of Jews by importing them to Rome on slave ships. In fact, the Colosseum of Rome was built by Jewish slaves, and many of the gladiators that fought for Roman entertainment were Judean warriors that had been captured by the Roman Empire. Eventually, Jews bought their own freedom in what is today Italy, and were yet again forced to leave. This caused for two diasporic groups to be formed. One group left to Sepharad, which was the name of Spain, and the other group left to Ashkenaz, which was the region of Germany. This is where Sephardi and Ashkenazi Jewish history begins. After the Spanish Inquisition, Sephardic Jews were forced out of Spain to North Africa, and with the rise of anti-Semitism in Europe, Ashkenazi Jews began moving east to places like Poland, Lithuania, Ukraine, and Russia. This is why there are Jewish communities in all of those places. It was not a religion that crossed borders onto these peoples. It was a people that were physically forced to cross borders because they were being persecuted due to their Jewish identity. It is scientifically and historically incorrect to view Ashkenazi Jews as Europeans or to see Sephardi Jews as North Africans. Jews were never considered white or European in Europe, and Jews were treated unequally as dhimmis in North Africa and the Middle East. My personal family on my father's side was massacred in Poland during the Holocaust for being Jewish and not Polish nor part of the Aryan race. And my family on my mother's side were massacred in Oujda, Morocco for being Jewish and not Moroccan nor Arab. Understand this, the word Ashkenazi or Sephardi is not an adjective that describes the origin of any Jew, but a word that portrays the experience that some Jewish ancestors had post-colonizations of their land. Even when we look at Ashkenazi Jewish DNA, it is actually more closely related to Arabs in the Middle East than it is to white Europeans. Makes sense, since the Arabs and Jews are Semitic peoples that originate from the Middle East. Jews are from Judea, and Judaism is a preservation tool. Even the word Judaism itself is never mentioned in the Torah, because Jews were a people and there was no need to create something that would preserve or spread Judean identity. However, when the Romans expelled the Judeans, they needed to create something that would preserve who they were. This is how Judaism was born. After a few generations, and due to the fact that Jews are such a small population, it became hard for others around the world to understand who or what the Jewish people really were. And since other nations had religions, most confused Jewish identity and the preservation of their culture as a religion, and even worse, many Jews themselves began seeing their true identity and culture as a religion secondary to their physical birthplace's identity. If the world understands religion as a belief system and not peoples, why are some Jews so attached to still calling Judaism a religion? It is an English word that means something very specific to the world, and not at all the representation of what Judaism actually is. Religions do not have rights to land. People do. And if Judaism is a religion, then the Jewish people have no legitimate claim to Israel. Let's look at other native peoples from around the world that have existed for thousands of years. For example, the First Nations of North America, commonly referred to as Native Americans or Native Canadians. This people is made up of many tribes, and each have a fundamental connection to a very specific piece of land. Although each tribe has their own set of deities and spirits, the First Nations are not considered a religion, they are a people. Furthermore, their identity as a people is not exclusively dependent on an individual's belief in such deities or spirits. What I mean by this is if a Native American individual were to reject his or her belief in their culture's deity, should he or she no longer be considered a Native American? Does he or she no longer have a history, a culture, a language, a connection to a land, or an identity? The answer is that they clearly do, since being a Native American is being the descendant of a people and not part of a religion that spreads across borders and nations. What is interesting of indigeneity is that it is based on a collective people and not on an individual's past. The point of this video is for non-Jews to understand who the Jewish people, Am Yisrael, really are, and for Jews to begin a decolonization process and undoing the injustices that were committed against us by invader nations. To my fellow Jews, how are we to expect that the world consider Israel as the home of the Jewish people if we ourselves in the diaspora do not call it home? If we ourselves do not understand who we are, and if we cannot communicate or project our own narrative to the rest of the world? Again, Judaism is not a religion, but the portable suitcase of a native people's identity that was created upon their forceful displacement from their indigenous land called Judea. I am a Hebrew, I am an Israelite, I am a Jew, I am an Israeli. I am all of those things because they are the same. I'm Rudy Rochman, and you're watching JTV.
To stay up to date with the latest JTV content, if you're on YouTube, click subscribe below the video and the alarm bell. And if you're on Facebook, click the like button, and under following, click see first.